Welcome to Milltown Lawyers.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Old Mill Lawyers podcast, here with Dutton & Dutton Law Firm, fighting for justice with integrity. I'm James, and this is my law partner and lovely mother, Debbie. Today, our topic is how to assert your rights and what rights you have and what you have to do and what you don't have to do. We've covered on previous podcasts some of the generals, this topic in general terms, specifically with what you have to do on the side of the road with the DUI stop, that sort of thing. But and I've also talked about how our rights aren't given to us by the government. Our rights don't even come from the Constitution. The Constitution protects the rights that God, our Creator, gave to us, and prevents the government from taking those rights from us. So the Constitution gave me no rights. I had them because I exist as a thinking human being. And lots and lots and lots of people have died to get you those rights and to get government off of your back and to keep other governments from taking them from you. So they're very, very, very important in my opinion. Some of the rights that are protected in that Constitution, we've never really had to defend. The Third Amendment, right, never really comes up. The right against quartering soldiers in your home. They've never knocked on my door and said, "Hey, there's your local National Guard. They're going to sleep in your basement." And that I don't think that's ever happened ever. That right has never come up in court, but that was certainly a thing at the time that was happening. So the important rights that we have, right, the ones that come up often, right, your First Amendment right to address your government. Obviously, everyone should be voting all the time, but you should also go and address that government. But you've also got the right as a juror to come in. And so many people try to get away from jury duty.
I know.
I don't want to go to jury duty. What? No, this is part of being in a constitutional republic, part of a free and democratic society is, sort of doing your part.
And so I have been called to jury duty 4 times. 3 of the times I could not serve for one reason or another. One time I did serve. I was the jury foreman. And had I not been part of that jury, this bad guy, he was a bad guy, would have walked. He would have gotten off. They didn't understand. I wasn't even an attorney then, but they didn't understand how to understand the evidence. And after we found him guilty, the one lady that was the last holdout that she wasn't sure. She and I were standing at the elevator talking, and that guy's attorney came over and said, "Thank you. This guy's a bad guy. He should not be on the streets of our town." So, it is your obligation, really, as a citizen of this country to serve on jury duty.
I was only called once, but I was an attorney at the time. And so the clerk's office said, "Oh, James, you don't have to come." And I said, "No, I'm going to come. I'm going to make you use the strike to get rid of me." It turned out on that calendar, someone accused of practicing law without a license was on the calendar. And they went, "Oh, we want you for that." I wasn't ever picked.
I wasn't picked either. Used a strike on me, even though the DA was saying, pick her. She's honest. She's honest.
That's right.
She'll do the right thing.
That said, we've got a Second Amendment right. I mean, and we're big believers in that.
We're
not
big
just
on that one.
For law enforcement, for everybody. So big, in fact, my brother owns his own gun store here in town.
Mammoth Arms.
This is the mom.
Mom's put
in a plug in, who just won Best Mistake. But the ones that we really interact with a lot are your Fourth Amendment rights and your Fifth Amendment rights. Those are the ones that we really want to focus on today. Your Fourth Amendment right says that the government has to have a warrant to search you, to take your property. Your Fifth Amendment right is your right to remain silent. Okay. I don't have to help you prosecute. Okay. I can just sit here like a bump on a log. And if I do nothing, I get to go all the way to trial. So what does that mean in actuality? We've said before, when you're driving in Georgia, driving is a privilege, not a right. Now, I think it should be seen more like a right, because if you take away my ability to drive, then I can't get to work. I can't get my kids from school. I can't get food. You've killed me. I'm going to lose my house. I'm going to lose my job. You've taken away my ability to do these things. It's a bigger deal than just like, flippant. I should just take it away. But because it's a privilege, when you get stopped by the police, you have to show your driver's license. Now, if you're walking down the street and you're just minding your own business and the cops come up and say, who are you? Give me your license. I don't got to talk to you. I don't got to interact with you. I certainly don't have to identify myself. Other states, they actually have stop and identify. New York, California, the bluer states have those sorts of laws. In the redder states, again, not 100%, but that's kind of how those get broken out. You don't have to at all in Georgia. Now, whether you want to stop and talk to that officer, right? That's entirely up to you. However, mistaken identity is a thing. People falsely accused of crimes are a thing. Now, if, an alarm goes off and I see someone, break a window in a car and take off running, and the cop comes up and goes, who did it? That guy, he ran that way, but if they come up to me and go, hey, put your hands up. Did you just break in that car? I'm not going to say anything. No, it wasn't me, maybe. And that's going to be the end of it. But even when you try to say something that is completely honest, there's still ways that can be used against you. That sounds crazy, right? But let's say that the officer thought that you said XYZ. No, he admitted it. Wait a minute, I didn't admit to anything. Well, the officer said you did.
Or sometimes the things that you say are taken completely out of context.
Right.
We could have a conversation for even just 5 minutes, and maybe I said this thing that had nothing to do with this thing, and now you're trying to connect the two.
One of my favorite movies is My Cousin Vinny, and there's
the clean version,
the TBS version. There's this great scene in it where there's kind of two scenes and they go together. The first is the sheriff interrogates poor Ralph Macchio in sort of his office, and he's like, why'd you kill the clerk? And Ralph Macchio goes, I killed the clerk? He goes, yeah, why'd you shoot him? I killed the clerk? Ralph Macchio thinks he's admitting to having inadvertently stolen a can of tuna, but they've arrested him because they think he's murdered the clerk. And then, and of course, he's going, wait a minute. I didn't kill the clerk. Well, fast forward to trial, and the DA says, now, sheriff's on the stand. Now, he confessed this crime. The sheriff says, yes. He said, I killed the clerk. And I asked him, yes, why did you shoot the clerk? And he said again, I killed the clerk. Now, we know in English from context, those are two different things. Ralph Macchio was not admitting to killing the clerk.
There was no question mark in the sheriff's statement. He left that question mark out.
So even in going, hey, I'm trying to do the right thing, I think I'm being arrested for stealing a can of tuna. It's my bad. He was being arrested for
murder.
And I would love to say that's Hollywood. That would never happen. It happens more often than you think. And there's no reason to roll those dice, right? So always, this is where the Sixth Amendment comes in, ask for an attorney. You have a right to an attorney in America. If you can't afford one will be provided to you, okay? Now, I started my career in law as a public defender, and I have nothing against public defenders whatsoever. You'll never hear me say anything bad about them. But as a public defender, as a former public defender, I can tell you that defending people as a public defender was like drinking water from a fire hose. My first day on the job, they gave me 700 felony cases. Who can keep track of 700 felony cases, much less to have 200 or 300 on the same calendar and to have to be ready on all of them? It's an impossible job for these poor public defenders. which is why it's so important that we have private attorneys like myself and my mom here. We're able to spend so much more time on your case. I might take 60 cases a year. And so I can take so much more time of the day, of the week, of my weekends dealing with your case, talking with the officers, talking with the judge about your case, not just the 800 cases I've got right now.
Well, I take more than 60 a year, but I know what my limit is. And I'm not going to take your case if I can't give you 110%.
That's right.
Because if I can't do the right thing with your case and spend the proper amount of time, then I'm not even going to accept you as a client. So
the underlying point though is that you have that right to an attorney and you should assert it immediately. I'm not going to answer your questions. I want my attorney. And what that tells any scrupulous, any law-abiding law enforcement officer, which is the overwhelming majority of them, that they should immediately stop asking you questions, immediately walk away and get an attorney for you. Now, some people will say, wait a minute, they didn't read me my Miranda rights. They didn't Mirandize me. That's TV nonsense. That happens in New York State. That happens in California. They do not have to Mirandize you in Georgia unless you are in their interrogation room and they do it via a piece of paper. Here, just sign this that says you're okay talking to us. That's your Miranda rights. But when they're arresting you for a DUI, when they're arresting you for whatever, they're not going to say, haha, you're under arrest. You have the right to remain silent. That's not Georgia procedure. They do not have to do that.
Well, there's so much, I guess, faults or misunderstanding because of Hollywood.
Right.
You know, I tell my clients when we're going to court, listen to the question. The majority of the questions are yes, no. Don't add anything. Don't say yes, but.
That's right.
You know, just listen to the question, say yes, no. And I always say, please don't go Perry Mason on me, right?
Right.
Whether I'm going to confess to
it's me. I did it. You're right.
So, just listen to the question. But yes, always quiet if possible.
Yeah.
If you get to a point where you feel you have to do something, then ask for an attorney. And I'm not going to speak until my attorney is present.
And again, it's so important because, hey, I asked for an attorney, but then later when they get the "I killed the clerk" quote out of me, hey, wait a minute. Not only was that out of context, but that's hard to argue as far as legal. It should be kept out because that's not the right context. Hey, earlier than that, he asked for an attorney. So everything from that point on, all of that gets thrown out. Judge, you got to do the right thing. And those are the rules of evidence. And that's a good judge would chuck those out if you had said, I want an attorney, and they kept asking you questions.
And another thing is, if you are arrested and you're put in a holding cell or in jail, don't get chatty with the people in the jail cell, because they'll make a deal with them to testify against what you said, or they could be planted in there for a reason. And that does happen. That does happen in Hollywood, but that does happen in real life also. So don't get chatty with anyone. The trust no one kind of attitude.
The other thing, we had a client who, to make a very long story short, inadvertently drove a getaway car. Okay. And when they the police officers posted on social media, hey, we're looking for the driver of this vehicle. The next day, that's when he figured out, oh, there was a crime committed. I didn't even know that this was, oh crap, I'm an inadvertent getaway driver. But he was trying to impress a girl. So he sends her a link with a text that's like, this is my life now, and you're like, oh no. And so they go, see, he knew what he was doing the whole time. Don't post about this stuff on Facebook.
He was joking.
He was trying to.
But now he's got this text that doesn't sound like it sounds like he's bragging, and that was used against him.
The things that are posted online, specifically on social media, can be so incredibly vague and yet used against you so directly by, in ways that you go, surely no one's taking this seriously. I was defending a young man who was accused of being a member of a gang and doing some bad stuff as a member of a gang. He was not a member of a gang, but the officer, the expert that the state put up on the stand, her training was, I have done the course with Georgia that tells me about what gang activity is. And she might have been 25 and, more blonde than either of us. And, I'm sure she was a great officer, but like, there was no way that she was a gang expert. Like, just, she hadn't even been an officer for a year she just wasn't a gang expert.
But that course made her an expert. And so she was allowed to testify as an expert that the dove emoji on Facebook, the little dove emoji, that was a sign that this guy was a member of the Bloods gang, because anyone who used the dove emoji, they're a member of the Bloods. And it was like, that's an absurd, what? He used the dove emoji? There's over 1 billion users of Facebook. Everyone who uses the dove emoji is a Blood. I think someone sent me a birthday text with a dove emoji.
Must have been a Blood. But the judge went, well, that's a question for the jury. She says she's an expert. The state says she's an expert. And as an expert, she says the dove emoji, it means he's a gang member. And me and everyone else in the courtroom were flabbergasted. What? The dove emoji means this guy's a Blood? And it went through, yes, the dove emoji, because the picture was him holding a gun. Well, wait a minute, but we have a right to hold guns. We have a right to, yes, but those things together mean it's clearly a gang member. Wait a minute. So when you're posting online, remember that kind of stuff. Remember that, hey, this could one day go before a jury. This could one day, I could be in court and they're going to be posting, here, I would never threaten anybody. And they pull up some old tweet of you going like, I want to fist fight Joe Biden. It's like, aha, you did threaten to. Yeah, but I'm not really ever going to fist fight Joe Biden. What are you talking about? Yes, but now you're a liar because you said that you. So this is why asserting those rights up front is so important. No, you can't search me. No, you can't search my phone. No, you can't. I had a friend who was sleeping one night in Helen, Georgia, and the cops knocked on their window, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm just tired, so I'm just." And they go, "Yeah, you can't sleep here." Okay, I'll move. I didn't know I couldn't. I'm just traveling through North Georgia. Didn't know I couldn't sleep here. They said, "No. By the way, can we search your car?" Yeah, sure. Search my car. I got no problem with that.
Nothing to hide.
I got nothing to hide. Well, not him, but someone else apparently had dropped a pot seed, not any actual usable THC-inducing marijuana, a pot seed in his car, in the floorboard, and the drug dog found it, and he was arrested. Had he said, "Oh, no, thank you. No, I'm going to assert my rights. No, thank you.
I'll move along.
I'll go, but no, you can't search me." He went, "Yeah, I guess you could search me." And then got arrested. And now this was back when being arrested for pot meant that you lost your driver's license for 6 months. That's no longer the law. So because he failed to assert his right, because he knew he was innocent, and he was, that was somebody else's. Just, I don't even know. I don't think he would even know where to gotten a pot seed. You know what I mean? Like a seed of pot. I don't know where you get that. But we had to get bailed out and, went to jail the whole 9 yards. So you have these rights. You should assert them. Do so politely.
And respectfully.
Respectfully. These officers have a tough job. People literally shoot at them. Okay. So you have to think, hey, why is this guy being abrupt? Well, he's on the side of the road. And, maybe there's a car that he's got to think, officers get hit by cars every year. I'm doing something that's dangerous. I don't know if this is some Pablo Escobar drug runner that I've just pulled over and he's going to pull a Uzi on me and shoot. So cut these officers some slack, be compassionate on them and their families. But at the same time, you have God-given rights that you're the first line of defense for. You're asserting them is your first line of defense of those rights and of yourself. Plenty of instances of mistaken identity, plenty of instances of wrong place, wrong time. But at the same time, maybe there is, maybe you have done something wrong. Maybe you have had too much to drink. Maybe there's an underlying mental health issue. Maybe there's an underlying addiction issue. Maybe that there's some help that you need instead of going to prison. Well, right there on the side of the road or with your interaction with the police, that's not the time to litigate that. That's what you want an attorney to do for you in a courtroom, before court, in the back rooms with the district attorney, talking to the judges. This is what you need an attorney for. So always assert all of your rights all the time. You have a right to remain silent. Do so. You have a right to not let them search you without a warrant. You have a right to an attorney. Insist on these rights. Use these rights. Okay. I think that if we did that, I think all of us would be safer. So thank you again for joining us for another short podcast. Today's just been about, in general, how to assert your rights and what to do. This has been James Dutton and my lovely mother, Debbie Dutton. Thank you for joining us again for Milltown Lawyers.
Thank you. See you again soon.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.